Hi, I'm Gavin. Something a bit different this time. It's not a film camera. I'm going to talk to you about the Fujifilm X100. Now, if you look on YouTube, there's a billion videos about the X100F, the V, all the variations of camera. I bought this one when it first came out 12 years ago, and I've tried my hardest to replace it, and I can't. I've had the X Pro 1, I've had the X Pro 2, I've had the X100V, I've had the X70, I've had a multitude of Fujifilm cameras. And there's something about the original one that I don't know, that they did that I can't, that the other ones that have come afterwards just don't do, or can't produce the image that this thing does. Let me explain it. Okay, so when they released this, Fuji had lots of CC, prior to these, Fuji had they weren't really, I don't know, a major player in the digital arena. They had loads of CCD based cameras, and they were great, they were great punch. And then they brought this out, which was their prestige camera. And sometimes camera manufacturers and general manufacturers, they make a product that's sort of like, the whole thing with electronics is you make a product that lasts for 5 years, then you upgrade the product, and then you sell more stuff. That's how it works. But sometimes they overshoot the mark slightly, and they make something so good that it's really difficult to upgrade. So they shoot themselves in the foot. Now, all they did afterwards with these is introduce new features stuff. But there's a big difference on this first X100, which none of the others have, which is it has a Bayer sensor. Okay, so what happened was after this, they introduced a sensor called the X-Trans, which is Fuji sort of, if you don't know what, on a digital sensor, they're all the same, but they have a thing called a CFA over the top, which is a colour field array. And what that does is sort of decides how the grouping of pixels is done. And X-Trans is different. Bayer, the Bayer one, is basically the standard one. Now, Bayer sensors are used on every single high-end cinema camera in production bar one, which is the Blackmagic 12K camera, because that has a white pixel, so that has a slightly different array. But Arri, Red, and everybody uses Bayer sensors. Now, Fuji, they put a Bayer sensor in this, but then they developed their X-Trans. And I don't know. I mean, if every single cinema camera on the planet uses a Bayer sensor for some reason, Fuji puts in their X-Trans, I don't know. It makes the image a bit different. So when I sort of switched from this to the X Pro 1, which has an X-Trans sensor, I really noticed it. It was really weird. And so I kept coming back to this, because it gave me a much more filmic look to the images that came out of it. It's only got 12 megapixels. It's got questionable autofocus capabilities, but I shoot manually, and I manually most of the manual cameras, don't I? And I shoot, old autofocus cameras. It's faster than half the autofocus cameras I have. So yeah, so it's just the strangest thing, and it's not just me. I think about these original X100s. If you look on eBay, these things are going for £400. Now, a 12-year-old digital camera that goes for 400 quid is a bit of an oddity, isn't it? Because mostly 5 years after you buy a digital piece of equipment, something digital, it's just chuck it in the bin. It's like, I don't think anybody's out there is rocking the original iPhone still, are they? But this is what happens. Technology is this type of technology is disposable in many ways. But yeah, so Fuji sort of knocked it out of the park with this in a big way, this original one. And then they tried to introduce the X-Trans sensor, which has got a different array pattern on it. I don't get on with that. I could see that straight away, just not quite right for me. I don't know, it's like a personal thing, isn't it, what you look at? And then they kept upgrading it. So it's up to the X100V now, and it's become a really big deal. It's sort of like the X100V is the camera that's up against the Leica Q2 or whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, some of the things that made this very different. It has an optical viewfinder, hybrid optical viewfinder. So for me, coming from film, with film cameras and stuff like that, being able to see without a digital version, being able to actually see what you're going to shoot is sort of like really important. So with this, you can do that. You can have either a digital version of what you're about to shoot, or you can have the optical version of it with a digital overlay, which is phenomenal. So I mean, you get that on SLR cameras, don't you? You know, you on some of the high-end SLR cameras, you get this. You can see what you're going to see through the lens, and it's got all the digital overlays on it. But yeah, at the time, it was, I think, quite a big deal, and it's incredibly impressive. I mean, it's got the eye sensors like Minolta has, but it is just a wonderful piece of equipment. I would never part with this. It's broken once. They had a problem with what's called sticky shutter leaves, whereby the actual, the shutters would stick and come back, and you would get strange exposure on the camera. And some of them still out there probably have this, because it's a bit of a concern when you buy one. But Fuji ran a program where you could send them back and they'd change the entire block in the camera. I think it was, I paid about 150 quid when mine went. And then you get it back and the new block doesn't have the same problem. So this should hopefully live forever. But no, I mean, I'll put it on the table and go through it in a really weird way. But it is a tremendous camera. And if you're like me who shoots loads of film and I like the images that film make, this thing, I can't find anything close to what this makes straight out of the camera. It doesn't have all the funky film simulations. It's got a couple. It's got Provena and Velvet, whatever, on it. But I don't even use it. I shoot it normally, shoot them raw, bring it in, and then just actually use in Capture One or whatever. I just use the default overlays that come with it, the image profiles, and they just look great. And I mean, yeah, it's got no Wi-Fi. It's got none of Bluetooth. The batteries don't last. The batteries take about 300 shots and then they die. But the lens is incredible on this. It really, really is. Mine's battered to death. And I actually think if this thing did ever die, I'd probably buy another one. I mean, it's crazy to say that, isn't it? You know, you buy a 12-year-old digital camera, but it does make incredible images. I can't speak highly enough about this. The other ones, I can live without. I've shot them. I'm not a fan. They've got a look, they've got a thing going on. I'm probably getting loads of flack for this, but I don't care really. It's a personal choice, isn't it, with your images, what things look like. And because I shoot so much film, it's like, to me, it's like, I keep this in my bag. If I run out of film, I can pick this up, and I'm not too far away once it's gone through Capture One from what I want to get. But no, amazing thing. I'll put it on the table, go through it, then I'll come back. Okay, a bit of an odd to this digital camera. So this is the Fuji X100, and you can see it's like every other film camera I've ever shown in the videos. It's really, really simple, but this has got super simple controls for digital camera. Okay, you've got aperture, you've got shutter control here. A means it's in like a program mode or auto. Exposure compensation here, function button there, on, off, fire. Front on the lens as well. You've got, basically, you just flip around it, pick your aperture and shoot, or leave it in A, and then the camera takes everything. This lever here switches you between optical viewfinder and optical hybrid viewfinder and a digital viewfinder. You just flip that and it changes the view in there. You just turn this thing off. I'm not going to go through all the controls on this camera, it's just bore you to death. But fundamentally, it's super simple. You've got two eye sensors there, so you've got a mode where it comes up and it fires up at the, it comes up and it shows you the display. So you can look at the display on the back. The moment your eye goes up here, the display switches over to here. And let me turn it on. Let's see what you can see. Okay, there. Standard, really basic information. Distance scale, where your targeting is. I've got it in macro mode, raw mode, battery, ISO, P. So you just control everything with this driver, this control button over here. Still image, frames per second, auto bracketing, film simulation, dynamic range bracketing, panorama mode. Okay, and that's that. Come out of that, display back, press that one, menu, all goes in there. Click out of that. Let's get out of that. There you go, suppress flash, auto flash, you control it that way. Macro mode is controlled by this. And then you've got white balance control down here. It's really simple. A lock, everything, you know, different viewing modes here, eye sensor. You can see it flicking between them all, eye sensor mode. You can change your, hang on, let's get it back to that back one. If I hit the A button, it gives me spot, multi-spot, multi and average, AF, hang on, there you go. And then if you want to review pictures, oh look, I've taken a picture of a roll of film. That's not strange and ironic. But that's the review mode, and then you can tab back for your pictures that way. But yeah, I mean, it's a digital camera. I don't really want to go through the menus. I mean, it's like, that's so tedious. Battery in here, these things don't last very long at all. I don't think that's an original. About 300 or 400 shots. And then, yeah, so it's actually got a ND filter in it, which is phenomenal. So you can lock the ND filter to the FN button. And then, I've done this on the beach when it's been super bright. You drop the ND filter in, neutral density filter in, and you can carry on doing your mega depth of field photos with that. Really great. So that's it. That's the, you know, you can Google this, you look through the menu, everything like that. But as I said, it's something different from all the rest of the ones they've made. And I don't know why. Anyway, that is such a good camera. Very traditional. Oh yeah, and on the side here you've got, like, you can change your manual focus, autofocus constant, and autofocus single, which is the one where you press and lock and it'll just stay there. C will hump for another, try and keep it in focus. But super simple, really clever, great camera. Okay, so that's it. That's the original Fujifilm X100. Amazing. They really screwed up with this, didn't they? Made a really good camera, and it's difficult to replace it for me anyway. And I know there's a few other people out there that feel the same way about it. And it's rare to talk about digital cameras with the sort of attachment to them like you get with film cameras, because this technology is supposed to be disposable. But they made a really, really good camera with this. I know the other ones, you know, everybody thinks are amazing, but for me, I got this one and went no further with it. It's sort of, it's a great thing. It's a great piece of design. It's got all the traditional things on it, the knobs and all those kind of things, and takes phenomenal pictures for a 12 megapixel, you know, sensor. Anyway, if you can get one, get one. I mean, but they are expensive for digital cameras, to tell you the truth, for old digital cameras. And remember the thing about the sensor block, about the shutter, about the blades, the sticker. I don't know if Fuji still run the repair program for these, and I think it's a couple of £100. But yeah, great bit of design and a great camera. Thanks for watching.